Hi.
Hey.
Hey. How you doing?
Yeah. Welcome to another exciting installment of the Atlantic Robot Show.
Finally.
It's
been a bit of a
we've been busy.
vacation. We could call it that.
Well, I wouldn't call it that. I've actually been working. That was the problem. I had to actually do some of this work that we talk about all the time. But, you know, things happen in the music business. Thought it was time to have a chat about something. I think it's on everybody's mind again. Ed Sheeran, aside from being a phenomenon, I was about to say phenomenal, but I think phenomenon is a better word. Selling out stadiums with an acoustic guitar and a really good loop pedal. He's also being sued for $100 million. That's a bummer, you know. Nobody likes to get sued for $100 million.
Ruins the day.
Yeah, and so we wanted to talk about this a little bit, and I'm going to do a recap. I found a nice article on the from NPR about what the lawsuit actually is, so I'm going to read this for you. So this is not my words. NPR gets the credit for this one. The Ginger Troubadour was first sued over the hit song last year by Edward Townsend Jr., a co-writer of Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On. He's sued for his song Thinking Out Loud, which the lawsuit claims is derivative of the same song. A new suit filed in New York by a company called Structured Asset Sales, or SAS, follows a failed attempt by SAS to join the Townsend lawsuit. So, 17 days after the rejection for joining the Townsend lawsuit, SAS filed its own lawsuit against Ed Sheeran, co-writer Amy Wadge, Atlantic Records, etc. And basically, SAS purchased its share of Townsend's song catalog from his son, Clef Michael Townsend, who inherited an unknown portion of the catalog after his father's death in 2003. SAS, who owns a portion, by the way, sidebar, a portion of this song that was co-written by Townsend, now seeks $100 million in damages for the portion of Let's Get It On, which it owns.
A portion of a portion of a portion.
Yeah. So basically, the giant lawsuit that everybody's talking about isn't actually the Gay family.
They're not involved.
They're
That's
not
right.
involved.
The Gay family are not involved this time.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's getting a lot of press, is because obviously, famously, the Gays won the lawsuit against Thinking Out Loud, or
Blurred Lines.
Pharrell and Robin Thicke. So I guess they're just still enjoying that cash before they get involved in this.
Well,
lawsuit.
I mean, that's interesting. Why the guy from behind it, what were they called? Structured Asset Sales?
Structured Asset Sales, yeah.
With a name like that, clearly they're big into the creative side of the business.
Obviously, they're artists.
Not lawyers, they're artists. But maybe they should have gone around and knocked on the Gays family door and said, hey guys, do you want to jump on this one? We're looking for 100 mil, but that's not happened.
Right.
But I did check before we met today that the guy who's leading this case, he's got some history with this kind of stuff. Some people online have called him a patent troll. Mm-hmm.
That's a patent troll for Americans.
Aluminum. Yeah. Patent troll that he's got prior history of, and actually ancient history back in what was probably the 90s, right? He was the guy that created the Bowie bonds, the idea of monetizing the rights of the material somehow for the artist.
Right.
I don't know all the details, but it was a big thing back in the day, and there was
basically he gave a huge advance on David Bowie's catalog.
Exactly.
So he would make money forever. And basically, for those of you who aren't familiar, a copyright is good for basically 70 years after the author dies.
Yeah.
So that's how that works.
Yeah. So Ed Sheeran,
this particular song, I mean, basically, again, it's kind of shocking, and the reason people are talking about it is it's not a direct copy melodically. it's not a direct copy lyrically, which is in the past how these things went. But like Blurred Lines, they're saying it copies a feel that had not existed before Let's Get It On in this case.
Right.
And
and under the letter of the law, copyright law, the only thing that is protected is the vocal melody and the lyrics. Everything underneath that is fair game. You can copy it. That's the legal situation, right? Although now Blurred Lines has turned that on its head and opened it's like a precedent now. It's opened the door where you could, in theory, try and sue for anything like this guy's doing. It's set a dangerous precedent in one way.
Yeah, so basically they're trying to sue on a harmonic feel and tempo.
Right.
And it's not even actually the same chords. And we're going to link it in this video description, but there's an excellent video by a guy named Adam Neely who explains, the musical theory behind this and why he also agrees that it's kind of a crazy thing. But, I wanted to talk about it kind of one thing we do with Atlantic Robot, and I do personally as a writer and a producer, is some sync licensing, which, means, you make music and for TV, movies, ads, whatever. And one massive part of that business is that companies often look for a song with a similar feel to a big hit usually that they either can't afford or maybe is not available to license. So they're specifically asking, hey, do you have something like this? And that's what we're talking about. Of course, they don't want a copy of it, but we're talking about what people are looking for is a song with a similar feel. And I mean, that idea is honestly how rock and roll and pop music and basically all modern music even exists. Period. It's derivative. It's all derivative. And this Ed Sheeran song and Let's Get It On, is some sort of loose variation on a 1-4-5 chord progression, which is the foundational chord progression of rock music. And there's only so many ways harmonies work together.
Right. Yeah, it's like, for me, an analogy would be the car, right? The fundamentals of the car, the engine, transmission, gearbox for us people in England, kind of gearbox. Transmission, gear, engine, chassis, wheels. You get the idea.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, that's kind of common to all cars, so you can't really try and copyright that. However, if it's a Ford Mustang with a Ford badge on it, you try and copy that, you're going to get sued, right? But the underlying car, which in this case,
it's still a car.
In this case, is the tempo, the harmonic content, the rhythmic content, that you can't really say, hey, that's mine, you can't copy it, right?
Well, I mean, and if that's the case, it's like, how far do you go back? I mean, in this video by Adam Neely, again, it's like he takes it all the way back to, Mozart and Bach, that, how far back do you go to say who originally created this thing? Because, there's only so many notes, and there's only so many ways that notes actually work together, in harmonic theory of music. So, I mean, there's only so much you can do. So if this kind of works, it means, nobody could ever write another song again, basically.
Yeah. I think that the reason why a lot of these patent trolls show up is because I guess they've seen or got experience from the business world where, trademarks, copyrights, and patents are massive business, like pharmaceuticals and software. But in those fields, they're not restricted by X number of chords, X number of notes, right, or whatever. The structure is very different. You can create whatever software you want and so on and so forth. So it's not a limited playing field.
Right.
And under the copyright and patent laws there, it's like screwed down within an inch of its life. What is owned and what isn't owned.
Yeah, well,
and everyone's counter-suing each other, counter-suing each other constantly in the software world. But it doesn't translate to the music business. So I think it's, in this case, it's I don't know, for me, it's not going to work, hopefully.
I mean, I hope so too. I mean, I think also, it stifles creativity. As we know, everything is an influence of something else. And I mean, there's...
imagine you can't use the 1-4-5.
I mean...
Who's going to write?
Yeah.
How many songs do you know?
Well, I mean, mostly the rest of the songs that are ever written are just going to be terrible because, like I said, there's only so many ways you can put chords together. I mean, you can try new stuff and people do.
I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's assume this is going to go ahead. Let's now write a song only
with all the remaining chord
minor
progressions.
second, diminished seventh.
Yeah.
Crush it, copyright it, that's it.
Yeah, just write all the rest of the chord progressions in
Totally.
every BPM possible.
Yeah.
With every groove.
Let's get on that now. Let me make a note.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
So anyway, I think it's scary. I think it also is just, kind of a, grasping for straws when, the music business is different now. I also saw something totally unrelated, but I also saw something, Drake just made $100 million, coincidentally same amount, on streaming already, or, and I mean, somebody brought up the point that his catalog is so massive and he works so hard, and that's why. Things are different than they used to be. Nobody throws money at you like they used to. But, what people always neglect to point out is, like, that didn't always work. Even when we know guys that have had massive record deals that didn't really break huge in the mainstream, but they got the opportunity, and it still helped their career, and it gave them a great chance.
Yeah.
But, when people are doing stuff like this, based on old things, and obviously another important fact is Marvin Gaye and Edward Townsend are dead. So this has nothing to do with these guys. These artists wrote something that they'd probably be, honestly, most likely flattered and complimented that a hot new artist is influenced by them. And I'm sure Ed Sheeran wouldn't even deny an influence. Who can deny an influence of Marvin Gaye and Motown and all that stuff? But
one interesting point to put in this discussion is the Ed Sheeran and the Shape of You track.
Yeah.
How the pre-chorus was, let's say, the vocal melody is clearly an almost exact copy of TLC's No Scrubs pre-chorus.
Yeah.
And him and his publisher published a track, and then within a few months, people started mentioning it, and magically, Ed Sheeran's team added the TLC writing credits onto this. So, make of that what you will. But
I think that's kind of Ed Sheeran's like new strategy is just like make stuff that sounds exactly like other stuff, make it a huge hit, sell out a few stadiums, and then put their credit on so they are cool with it. Have you heard 2002? It's that. But go Ed Sheeran. I mean, who can blame him? But anyway, I really just think this is crazy and another scary little thing for music. I mean, I don't even know what my opinion is. I mean, my opinion is it's just greed. It's clearly, as we mentioned, structured asset sales is clearly not an artist-friendly service,
Yeah. And has that record even clocked over 100 million?
Yeah. That's a point.
So even if this structured assets company owned 100% of the copyright, so then they could claim 100% of the income, which they don't. They own a percent of a percent. Is it even anywhere near 100 million? I don't know.
I mean, judging from that description by NPR, basically this company owns a portion of Edward Townsend's portion of a song he co-wrote with Marvin Gaye.
So clearly, it's a percent of 50%.
Yeah, well,
most.
At most, it's some percent of 50%, which that would indicate that song has made more than $200 million, which it clearly has not. It's a great song. It was a huge hit. But I'm sure they're going to name stuff like this is why Ed Sheeran is selling out stadiums and that kind of thing, which they did in the Robin Thicke lawsuit. Yeah. Part of the lawsuit was based on the fact that his star rose because of the hit.
Well, going back to that case,
which they won that one, by the way, about Robin Thicke and Pharrell.
I read somewhere that one of the reasons the Thicke Pharrell case went the way it did was because apparently Robin Thicke's demeanor in the court was quite abrasive.
I could see that.
I don't know. I haven't seen it. We weren't there, but I read some reports that said he was quite arrogant in his tone, and it kind of turned off the jury. Which leads me to my point of how to solve this. And one of the ways I would say is, why is this being decided by a public jury? Why not lock 2 or 3 musicologists or 2 from each team with a judge and go at it and say, look, this is the technicalities, because it's not that difficult to explain to a judge. If you've got musicologists on that side, this is the deal, this is what is legal. Not about I'm not talking about subjective elements. It's like under the copyright law, this is what you can copy, this is what you can't copy. You can see what it is. So do that. Put it in, take it away from a public jury, first one. And then,
Or in this case, because everybody loves Ed Sheeran, it's probably totally fine. Just let Ed Sheeran bring a guitar.
He'll come and
do a little show.
Hello, guys.
Yeah.
Give him a little song and they go, all right.
Take a selfie with everybody. It'll be fine. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess we'll see how this one plays out. I just think this kind of stuff is just bad for music and bad for the business and bad for everything. Just bad.
We're taking like a light-hearted approach to this, but this could potentially have quite serious ramifications for all of us. And if this actually, if it turns out or strengthens the precedent that the thick case has created, it's not good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like at what point do people either stop writing songs or, and like I said, this sync licensing business is no joke. That's a huge business for a lot of like us musicians and producers who basically aren't, big, but it pays for a lot of mortgages and it pays for a lot of, birthday parties and it pays for a lot of, colleges. You know what I mean? This is normal working man stuff. It's like most people that make a living in the music business are not famous and are not selling out stadiums. We're hardworking people that go to work every day like everybody else. So it's a weird, scary thing, I think. And
I actually just thought of another analogy. Like if we go back to the world of software, so for example, you're a software developer and you can only use like 7 chords or whatever, 7 something in software. And once those 7 are used, you can't use them.
Yeah.
That just doesn't work, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you just go create a new piece of software today that isn't the same as someone else's. You have a blank sheet of paper, but in music, we're tied to the Western chromatic scale.
There's 12
and
notes.
That's it.
Well, 11 notes.
So, it's fundamentally different. So, let's see.
Yeah. So, anyway, I guess that's it for today. I think I'd like to hear what other people think about it.
Right. Your comments in down below. We'd love to hear what you guys think because I know this is a really...
I'd almost like to hear if somebody disagrees because from the people I've talked to, everybody thinks this is crazy.
Yeah, I've actually seen one guy on one Facebook group. He's like adamant that Sheeran has copied it and he should be taken to the cleaners.
Really?
Yeah. So if that's your opinion, I mean, let us know. We're interested to hear why someone would think that. I don't agree with it, but yeah, I mean...
But my next prediction, if this works, U2 is going to sue Ed Sheeran for Castle on the Hill. Listen to the intro if you don't believe me. Anyway, I hope they don't. I was just kidding, but it's pretty similar. So anyway, please write your comments and please, click subscribe.
Like and subscribe. We're back on the horse. We're starting to churn out these little videos much more frequently. We're going to be covering the news of the moment, really.
We're going to keep it fresh, keep it a little bit current from now on. Anyway, thank you for listening, watching, being with us, sharing your time, spending your time with us. We appreciate it. We know it's a valuable thing for everybody these days. Yeah. So we'll see you.
We'll see you next time.
Next time. Thanks.
Yeah.